Hello and welcome back to the Homestuck lore series. In our last couple of episodes we have covered the moons of Prospect and Durst, their residents and players, but now we have also mentioned that they are fighting for something called Skaia. Today we'll go into exactly what Skaia is and why it's so important for Spurb. Skaia's name is a portmanteau of Sky and Gaia, the Greek mythology who is at the same time the earth itself and a separate entity who personifies it, and one of the first immortals ever born into the cosmos. It could also be a reference to the Skaian gates in Homer's Iliad, in which Priam watched the Trojan War, seeing as the children must travel through the seven gates, which then themselves are reminiscence of the seven-gated wall of Thebes in Greek mythology, and also the portals which send the meteors Earth, are gateways of a sort. That name is particularly fitting. We can only assume from this and the nature of the denizens that Hussey's pretty fond of the Greek mythos. Many times during the game, Skaia is referred to as a sort of sentient being in the style of the Greek Gaia. Rose Lalonde, through self-duties chronicling the mechanics of Spur for her teen, speculates that it is a passive being, and that only capable of watching and seeing, but not acting. Skaia, as we have mentioned in passing before, is the world that the players of Spur must build towards in order to win the game. A dormant crucible of unlimited creative potential. The orbiting light planet Prospect is charged with its defense, whilst the distant planet of Durst converts its destruction, as we have covered in their own videos. The playing board of the game of Spurb, Skaia, resides at the core of the Insifosphere, fulfilling the role of both a sun and a principal planet, which is quite confusing when you think about it from an astrological perspective. The armies of light and darkness duel there upon the surface of Skaia, known as the battlefield, in a perfect stalemate of violence and war that ultimately will achieve nothing, because this is not the real battle. The real battle begins only when the players have all prototyped their sprites at the beginning of the game session. When the real battle begins, Prospect is always destined to lose, as we've discussed it in these respective videos. Each time a Spur player initially prototypes a kernel sprite, the size of the board seems to grow exponentially. Where the battlefield is initially a 3x3 chessboard, a situation that leaves only the two combatants of the White and Black King in an eternal stalemate, the board grows until a full game of chess after the first player's prototyping, albeit with a 12x12 square board and some pieces taking up multiple squares. When a second player prototypes their kernel sprite, the board expands to a massive cube with 48 squares to an edge and landmarks like trees and lakes. The battlefield becomes a fully spherical planet upon third prototyping. After the fourth prototyping, the battlefield appears to have gained a larger outer shell made of checkered tendrils. The battlefield of a 12 times prototype Sky is made by the trolls in the scrub session, but the full planet is never shown to us. Before the battlefield is prototyped to its full size, Skaia's core consists almost entirely of a sky dense with vast twisting clouds, much more than has been seen in the inside after prototyping. The final form of Sky is required to create and grow the universe, fulfilling the objective of the game. This is why at least one pre-entry prototyping is necessary for each player. According to the notes and observations of Rose, the prototypings enable Sky to transform and heal itself, thus letting it handle the aforementioned universe. If any other players die before the final form is achieved, therefore, the entire play session is ultimately lost from the very beginning, as seen in the first offshoot timeline where John got himself killed on troll Terezi's advice and left Jade stranded and dead outside the game, trapping Dave and Rose in an unwinnable timeline, which took Dave's time power to undo. This is perhaps the reason why time players are so vital to a team's success. When the Black Kingdom inevitably wins the battle, the Black King uses the White King's scepter to initiate the reckoning, sending all the meteors in the Veil, a large ring of asteroids in the Insifosphere that forms the outer boundary of the medium, towards Sky to destroy it. Sky defends itself by opening portals to stop the meteors, sending them instead to the host planet, sacrificing the planet to protect itself, as we discussed in our very first video. These defense portals don't only activate during the reckoning, but rather whenever meteors are headed towards Sky, as seen in the Beta 2 session, when the troll meteor arrives and the defense portal activates, sending them to post-scratch Earth, implying that these pre-reckoning meteors are much more random. By this means, Skaia forces players to enter the game in the first place, as Skaia eventually fails to protect itself when the largest meteors of the Veil are launched at it, at which point it is destroyed due to either running out of defense portals or an inability to teleport objects of such size. The player's goal is to then stop the reckoning before this happens by defeating the Black King and thereby winning the game. Players then disperse their planet's grist hordes into Skaia for the process known as the ultimate alchemy, while one of the player has the duty to light the forge. All this to reach the final stage, the ultimate prize, your own universe to mould as its gods. The Genesis frog is shown to be floating at the centre of this stage, which implies that the session's Genesis frog will be transferred to Skaia for it to grow, with Skaia functioning in its egg and pond, respectively. The surviving players are then transferred atop the final platform to be presented with the door that'll let them confirm their victory and claim their prize. As a last aside, it should be noted that the clouds that orbit the world of Skaia are far from the ordinary sort. When a player visits Prospect as their dream self, sometimes Prospect's moon eclipses the oracle clouds of Skaia. These clouds float by the player's dream tower and portray glimpses of the past, present, and future for them in cloud mirages. These clouds are also visible on the planet itself. They are capable of showing virtually anything, even from things from other spheres, or even indulging in fourth wall breaks to just hand Hussey. It is interesting that while Prosperians and humans can view the cloud mirages, Dursites cannot. While they may have their own method of gaining insight, they come from a far more sinister sort, but that's another story for another time. Our time on Skaia seems to be concluded for now. Our trip around the medium is not yet over. Do come back again as we continue our astrological tour of the unique universe of Spurb and Homestuck. Until that time, I have been the Guard. Do like and subscribe for more lore on Homestuck, and be sure to pop over to our gaming channel where I have a complete playthrough of Homestuck Act 1. Links in the description. See ya!